So let's make a decision upon that before we can tell them that we are open, not with equipment, not just with equipment, but with operating procedures and standards as well. So,
my point of view is they're two separate entities because you've got a lot of system integration, acceptance testing, and everything else that has to take place technically before you fire it up and open the doors.
Right.
The procedures and policies is a separate issue that needs to be taken care of simultaneously. They're independent of each other, but everything you and I have spoken about technically is separate, I think. That's my
I just want to make
position.
sure that everyone understands. You can't, you know, they might be separate, but you can't do one without the other.
Yes.
Opening date, March. How's that?
Don't put that in the minutes, Tammy.
Our opening date is moving like the stuff and keeps going up.
So let me catch up here. We had a motion for Mr. Kogar, seconded by Mr. Smith, I believe, that we lay it over for really in all, it's really 3 weeks we're talking about.
And we need to provide an opportunity for the new members to think about it, talk about it, and ask questions.
Yeah, I guess my comment would be I appreciate that, but I've looked at it multiple times, reviewed it in depth multiple times. The public comment was very helpful to me, and so if we want to have a discussion about issues related to the public comment, I'm happy to have that conversation if that's what we feel we need to do. But I feel like I've taken it in, I've interpreted it, I've read it, reviewed it, made several revisions and comments on it, so I appreciate that, but I also think that the new members have actively worked on this, so if we're going to lay it over, let's lay it over to talk about issues related to the public comment and other issues we might have, but let's not just lay it over because the new members, there's a sense that the new members somehow need to assimilate the policies and procedures themselves. So I just, for clarification purposes, I wanted to point that out.
I would agree with that too, Drew. We did put in a lot of input. We do know what's going on in the document, but the input from the people should be taken into consideration as well. So I'm with you. Let's lay it over and see what happens.
Okay, is there any more discussion then? Any more thoughts?
Question in the audience.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pastor Woods, People's Nation, are you saying that we don't have any input on CTAC or not?
Your input is being taken into consideration as we look at this in the next 3 weeks and then come back. That's the thought.
Okay, now will we be a part of that?
You can be glad to sit here and watch, but there'll be no more public. We've had the public comments on policies and procedures, so we won't entertain public comments on that next time we meet, if this motion passes.
I just want to say something. I really appreciate that board actually knows a lot of
You'll have to come up here. Our public comment time is over and the hour is late. We do want to give everybody a chance to be heard.
I'll be very quick.
Yeah, again, we need your name and address.
7105 South Omaha. So, I'm sorry, I wish. La Vista. But anyways, I think lots of people already spoke their mind. I think I already emailed you, to most of you, what I think too. I think you guys need to give us a chance, the program producers. There's a lot of them. There's about 7 new ones that would like to be involved, but with these restrictions or possible restrictions, it's going to be very, very difficult. So I really appreciate what you guys are going to do. You're going to think about it. Think what these people, these new people didn't come today. It's because we work. We usually work until 5 or 6. I made an issue of this, so I said, you know what, I won't be able to see any patients because I want to be here, present. So that's what I'm here. So please think about this. Think about us. There's a lot of people awaiting your solution to this problem. And there's so many people that are in disagreement with a lot of the stuff that's going on. There's got to be a reason for that. So please think about it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Doctor. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to to lay this over until our December meeting. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? So that motion passes. All right, thank you. Agenda item 7 is appeals. This agenda item is primarily set for people who are having trouble at time slots and so forth, and I don't think anybody has had that issue yet. So let's
There's
move on.
no formal appeals, and in the new policy and procedures,
It would be a written.
They'll send you.
It would be a written thing.
Yep.
And you don't have anything. Okay, thank you. Any reason to go into executive session? Agenda item 8. Agenda item 9 is public comments on items not on the agenda. No action can be taken. And
Mr. President, can I interject here?
yes, please, Tom.
Now, I would emphasize that this is an opportunity for public comment on things that are not on the agenda. We're going to have some public meetings problems if we go back and start commenting about things that have already been passed on the agenda. So comments should be restricted to matters that are not on the agenda. That means comment about the policies and procedures would be inappropriate. Comments about the prices would be inappropriate. All those things that we have covered. I just don't want to have public meetings problems by going back and rehashing things or covering items that are not on this agenda item.
Okay, I have something.
So Francis, if you want to talk, that kind of leaves us with your Thanksgiving plans. Maybe you can share those with us.
I am a vegetarian. It's not easy.
Need your name and address, and we're going to say 3 minutes because the hour's late.
All right, Francis Mendenhall, 3715 Hamilton, and I want you to call your attention to the packet that I prepared for you all. It cost me $25 to photocopy that. I think it's important. I think that you need to consider models of public access channels that we know are working.
Dr. Mendenhall, you know, you passed it out, you talked about it in your previous statement.
No,
so
I didn't. I didn't go through it. I mentioned that it existed.
You didn't, was it you or was it
wait.
Alan who passed it out then? Wasn't that part of your statement? So you're talking about the same thing?
I deferred a whole page of my prepared statement because I was out of time and I wanted to honor other people's time. But you need to know about why the public access channels in Bismarck, Waterloo, Los Alamos, Humboldt, and Fort Wayne are working, and Democracy Now! Being part of their schedule is an asset. In Bismarck, they operate with two small cities, and they get $420,000 to operate 2 channels, one a public and one a G government, and the best fan of Democracy Now! Is their city attorney. In Waterloo, Iowa, WCTV is like KPAO, has only 2 full-time employees. They have only 50,000 in their viewership and only 68,000 in their town. Their funding comes from a portion in the cable bill allocated to PEG. And their shows include a mix of local and nationally originated. Democracy Now! Is aired every week at 7 a.m. I want you to look at those schedules. I arranged them so that you could pull them open according to with the tabs. You will see what kind of programs they broadcast. They don't restrict anybody to half an hour. They have a good mix of programs, and they make it work. In Los Alamos, New Mexico, there's PAC 8, and their budget's $115,000 a year. They only have 1 full-time and 7 part-time employees, and they rely on a lot of nationally produced programs. There, Democracy Now! Airs 3 times every weekday, and 1 news program produced by Al Jazeera. Now, this matters because Los Alamos is in the shadow of the nuclear weapons industry. You know, if they can do this, so can we. Humboldt, California has a population of 135,000, and they operate 4 PEG channels, 6 full-time people and 2 part-time. And they have a real strength in getting local people involved by a focused outreach with nonprofits. They show Democracy Now! On weekdays at 8 a.m. Now, my personal favorite is Fort Wayne, Indiana.
And you have 30 seconds.
Okay, Fort Wayne has learned, and we should learn from them, that in order to get a real rich schedule of locally produced shows, they have to allocate 20 person hours per week to reaching out, attracting, to support the nonprofits who produce many of their shows. So these stations flourish, and we should learn from them and not invent something that's never been done, programs limited to half an hour.
And that's time, Dr. Mendenhall. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else? This has to be a comment on something that wasn't already on the agenda. Yes, Dave, we need your name and address, please. 3 minutes.
Dave Walker, 1014 North 48th Avenue, Apartment 9, Omaha, Nebraska, 68132. And I want to say, well, I started off, I was born in the days when people dressed up to watch TV. Of course, the stuff that you were getting, it was worth dressing up for. But now we're in a situation where we're talking about stuff that's, it's already gone past. If you look at the USA Today, they have, with the TV listing, they have an internet listing. They have a list of internet shows. There are shows on the internet that are being produced. And they're getting, matter of fact, with the situation with Netflix I was telling you about before, they have a show, their own show they produce well, they hired a producer to do Game of House of Cards, I think it is. It won an Emmy. So it won an Emmy for a show that's not even on television, won an Emmy last time out. And I went to an event in Las Vegas, back in May, and I went as a producer. And the people let me know that everything's going on the internet and everything's going digital. Said, you're no longer a producer, you're a content provider. And I think that's what all these producers are going to be doing. I think within the next 2 or 3 years, you're going to be providing content or stuff that's going on the internet. So they shouldn't be worried about being screened out now, because they're going to have more open. It's just a matter. Well, I did access here where there wasn't even a lot of people weren't even wired up. The Cox didn't have a studio. So I know the beginning of the days of this, and I know that we're at the beginning of something new right now. And you can bet that the internet is going to be taken more seriously in the future as an entertainer and information source. It's just a matter of getting people wired up, and that's coming. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else like to make a public comment again on items that we haven't previously discussed? Seeing no one else, our next meeting date is December 9th. Is there any other business to come before us? Anything that we need to talk about? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you December 9th.